You guys believe we haven't done one of these podcasts since Chiefs-Seahawks? That game happened 6 months ago. I was awake through the final whistle, through an entire post-game show, back home. I don't think I fell asleep till 3 a.m. Saturday morning, and I could have sworn that game happened another lifetime ago. All we have to talk about from that game are injuries. And all we have to look forward to is preseason game number 3, which is also on a Friday. And then the season opener is also on a Friday. Our season clocks, fellas, are going to be unsalvageable. When the Chiefs finally play on a Sunday, it's going to feel like a miracle.
Please.
I didn't even realize that preseason was still going on.
I'm not even sure if it counts as a weird game because it barely qualified as a game, but we have a few things to talk about from the Chiefs' second game of preseason action. A few players we will genuinely talk about, and some bad news on the injury front. Plus, we've gotten into the reps on the offensive line a little bit. We got plenty to talk about. It's just about a game that feels like it came and went a very long time ago. Fellas, Seth, let me ask you this first. What was your favorite moment of the fourth quarter?
Well, there were so many things about the fourth quarter that I could doubtlessly talk about in detail. I'm going to go with there was a play in which I believe Jeffrey Bassa had a tackle for a loss of 2 yards that I definitely watched and didn't just see on NFL Pro.
Yeah, you were there live.
And yeah, I was actually there hovering above the field like a specter. I did rewatch that on NFL Pro because full disclosure, did I watch the game? No. Have I rewatched a bunch of player snaps many times since then? Yes.
How are you going to understand the flow of the game?
Flow is a lot like my opinion on modern music. No one cares and it doesn't matter. At least when you're trying to gauge the ability. Preseason, I treat my watching of the game with the same care and diligence the Chiefs treated the desire to win that game. I gave it the exact same amount of attention. My only goal with that game was, okay, I want to look at Kingsley, Suamataia, and Josh Simmons again. I think I'm going to look at more snaps because after watching Kingsley, Suamataia's snaps, I kind of want to. And I want to see how some of the guys are doing individually. But in terms of how that game went, honest to God, they might as well have just said, we're canceling the game. We're going to have a joint practice. And I would have learned the exact same amount if they made that available via all 22.
Look, guys.
This is Nate Taylor with ESPN.
They are obligated to...
As seen on the franchise. Excuse me, on the Kingdom. I've gotten that wrong several times. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Involved. I'm going to keep working on it.
They are obligated for your entertainment to fly halfway across the country to play a meaningless game at 9 o'clock local time.
My God, that was late.
It's psychotic, honestly. In August, in the rain, again, for your entertainment. Now, we can argue back and forth if we actually learned anything. Trying to go through the fourth quarter. There was, I thought the fourth quarter was going to be pretty mundane. Obviously, some things happened. Ladies and gentlemen, we obviously, as you know this, have a group text with Tucker as well. And I think the fourth quarter is when the text chain was at its peak.
I can tell you that that's true because I'm 40 years old and I was out, man. I was done. And my phone, which I couldn't turn off because I was a little bit on call, and I'm just like, ding, ding, ding. And I was like, man, I love you guys. It's going to be all right.
Sorry, Seth. If you want to be in a group chat with 3 people who aren't working during Chiefs games, you should probably just mute our notifications.
Right. Okay. So
we were all doing jobs.
Look, if I want solutions... I just wanted you to acknowledge my feelings. I didn't want a solution.
What's Nate doing with his elbow?
Is
Nate
know.
Flexing? Did Nate get a bug bite? What's going on here?
Nate.
I mean, Nate is currently showing us his weenus.
I think I just got stung by
stream.
something. I'm not sure what though.
So
the game
went late.
Noticeable.
Okay, Nate just got stung by something. Okay, are you gonna be? What's the?
Are you allergic to anything that we should be aware of before this
assailant?
I mean, yeah, I don't know. But
Nate's outside, by the way, today. It's 90-something degrees, and Nate's doing this podcast outdoors. So
gotta stay ready. Gotta stay ready. No. What just occurred to me mid talk from Seth was a bug somehow flew under my elbow here and stung me, and I just pulled out its stinger, and I'm not.
Oh.
I never saw the bug. I don't normally get stung, but maybe I'm becoming more like Carlos Alcaraz, where there's anything with a bee stinger involved. I gotta bail. So
that could have all been an elaborate setup for a Carlos Alcaraz mention, as far as I know. I gonna make it the entire stink thing.
No. Yeah, this is not an ad for YouTube. Yeah, my arm is stinging, and that is more riveting than the second quarter of Chiefs-Seahawks. So I'm still here mentally. I'm still locked in. But yeah, I don't know where that bug came from. I don't know if I killed it. I'll get back to you on that here shortly.
I think it's probably not coming back for more. I got stung by one wasp 2 times last summer, and I have kept that grudge. So yeah, maybe we need to try to get working on like a bug repellent kind of sponsor for this show. Maybe we can go ahead and
Peter Parker arc. Yeah, I mean, look, as you guys know, Spider-Man is the best. He's the greatest. I'm sorry, Superman wishes he was Spider-Man. But yeah, I mean, if this is what it takes for me to become Peter Parker, then I'm okay with it.
That's a good trade. It's a good trade if that does work out. I'm just afraid that if you got bit by a spider, I think historically speaking, there's a much better chance that bad things happen to you than good things happen to you. But that's we'll keep an eye on it. We'll get an injury report from you on Thursday, Nate.
So look, I think, ladies and gentlemen, if we don't get the Sky Moore redemption punt return for a touchdown, that arguably might have been the worst fourth quarter in all of Chiefs preseason history when it comes to football. We have injuries to talk about, as we've said. Obviously, technically the next topic is about, the grim part of football. Because I would argue neither one of them men should have been out there in the fourth quarter, yet they have put themselves in that very odd predicament. And I mean, somebody's got to take those snaps, I guess. But yeah, guys, I was on my couch. I was listening to Andy Reid via 96.5 The Fan, via Mr. Joshua Brisco, and then I don't remember what happened the next hour.
Me either, and I was hosting
because I fell asleep. That's how late.
At one point or another, they finally let Rashard Smith touch a football.
Yeah,
and then they said, "Let's never do that again." Like, is he gonna be in uniform Friday? Because I'm not sure he will be in uniform. That's how much they said get him off the field.
Now
you broke a tackle and got additional yards, sir.
So, Nate, help me understand that. Well, you know what? No, I don't want to go out of order.
I can help you understand it. No. We could go there. Look.
Sorry, Seth just had his first moment of questioning the rundown order in show history.
Right.
While Nate's camera glitches out.
God dang it. Thank you, Lord, for all your grace and mercy.
Which is
what a kick saving abuse.
Whatever.
I'm stung by a bee. What do you want me to say? Anyway.
Thank you, Lord, for the reminder that my nervous system works.
Thank you, Lord, for the strength that you give us, even when the rundown gets
You're just like Job.
Compromised. Yeah, just like Job.
Okay, I'm gonna stop.
Not at all.
Sorry, Josh.
So think about this. There are no more training camp practices. By the way, thank you to everyone who came to St. Joseph, who took time and energy out of their day to come say hi and to watch the football team you root for practice. And I'm putting practice in big quotation marks, because it's so interesting to me that, like, per the NFL rules, per the media policy through the Pro Football Writers Association, look, I'm supposed to be able to watch all these practices between now and the start of the regular season. And you know what, Seth? I'm pretty confident I'm going to see more Brashard Smith in practice than I'll ever see him Friday at Arrowhead Stadium. So there you go. That's what we learned.
This is a putting stuff on tape kind of deal with Brashard Smith, is what you're saying, right? I think you've said this before on the podcast, so I don't.
We don't want Jesse Minter to get any idea who's on the roster and who's not on the roster. Why do we?
And there is no other way to look that up.
All I know is I saw what it looks like,
Jim
and I know
Harbaugh.
he's.
I mean, come on.
I know he's a fan. Well, yeah, but Jim Harbaugh would never do anything untoward to learn something about a team. So
No. They got to fly to Brazil anyway. They don't have time.
Yeah. And so has everyone currently on the Chiefs sideline been vetted? Like, are they not? Anyway, so I do know that I see what it looks like when Carson Steele runs with the football, and I know he's a fan favorite. Understand, appreciate everything he's offered, more or less. And then I see what it looks like when Brashard Smith runs with the football or has the football in his hands, and I'm like, well, that looks really different. Now, there's a crap ton of stuff to playing the running back position, including like a lot of people are like, oh yeah, third down back. I have still not seen that man pass protect.
One time. Well, me and Matt Derrick talked about he did sacrifice his body in week 1 of the preseason in Arizona, and that was the one time they said, okay, take him off the field.
Yep.
Don't need to see anymore.
Yeah, we see you're willing to do the crazy thing. That should be enough to buy someone a second.
Yep.
I think there's a lot of cool ideas with Brashard Smith that you could do in terms of, multiple running back personnel with splitting him out wide, or even like 22 personnel. Like there's cool things you could do to get teams as heavy as possible. So my hope is this is really a visual medium. People should be looking at Nate right now. I'm not going to say anything to get the man in trouble. There's cool things you can do with Brashard Smith's particular skill set. I'm not saying he's going to be an all-pro, but someone who is a fast receiver, now playing running back, you can mess with people with personnel groupings and still have, Isaiah Pacheco in the backfield or Kareem Hunt in the backfield. The newly svelte Kareem Hunt. That's the running theme of Chiefs training camp 2025 is we're not fat
anymore. That guys are in the best shape
of their lives. We're not fat anymore. Yeah. Hey.
No, it's not even their best shape of life. It's actively we're no longer fat. Well, what did you do? Well, I stopped eating candy for every meal. It's kind of like I'm down about 15 pounds. What did you do? Well, I stopped eating an entire all frozen pizzas are personal. One of my favorite, Ali, formerly Trost, now Martin's, Trost maybe. Anyway, one of my favorite takes she ever had, she tweeted out, all frozen pizzas are personal pizzas. And I was like, God, that is such a great take. But, what did I do? Well, I stopped eating an entire Tombstone and a share-sized bag of peanut butter M&Ms at 11 at night. And let me just tell you, the fat is melting off. This is like a miracle thing. We should patent this. So that's what we get from Kareem. That's what we get from Kelsey. But I watched Brashard Smith spin out of trouble and outrun a defender's angle to the sideline for like an 8-yard gain that should have been like a 2-yard loss. And I thought,
get off my field, son.
But the frustrating part for me, and this is how little Andy Reid takes preseason seriously, is like, oh yeah, we really want to preserve him. So let's give him snaps with like the 9th string offensive line. Like what? I just don't understand. Like, I don't understand the meat and potatoes to all that. And I'm sure smarter people than me have figured it out. But Brashard Smith was like one of the few bright spots. I was like, I got the group chat like, wow, Brashard Smith. I was like, oh crap, I better go watch that. I was like,
one snap.
Well, there were a couple others. He took that jet sweep.
Seth, at least in iMessage, you can just mute an individual conversation. Also, if you don't want to mute all of your notifications, you do want to silence one individual thread, you can actually do that.
The only things that I have to say in response are actually far too serious about Apple from a prosecutor's standpoint. So I'm not going to say the things that I was just about to say.
Here's what I'll add. You could probably do it on Android also, and you've never thought to look.
That's fair. So Felix is on injured reserve now with hurt feelings.
Yeah. No, with the I should have put that's a great
I was gonna do a news intro for this and everything.
It's
and you guys
a
just
great
took
it's a
big
great segue.
steaming-
No,
Seth,
Josh is gonna do it. No,
Here-
Nate, let's wait for Josh. Josh, we're sorry. We took you for granted. We
Yeah, wait for me.
apologize. I will. What do you think? What's gonna stop me? Pride? Like what? Have you met me, Josh?
Okay,
Please come back. We miss you. We rely on you. We need you. Nate, you're ruining the thing that I'm doing. Josh, we need you to take us into this.
Nate, go ahead and take it from here.
All right, this one time, ladies and gentlemen, this is about as serious as I'm gonna be for the entire episode.
Oh.
So just
Josh, I think this might be a 3-person clip.
stay with me. There was a legitimate moment where I asked myself, not Holly. Holly doesn't care in the fourth quarter of a preseason game. Why is FAU out there? You're telling me you don't have anybody else that you can put on the field in the fourth quarter of a preseason game? I don't care that it's on the road. I don't care that you're on turf versus an NFC opponent. I don't care that it's wet and, the risk profile might go up because you're on a turf field in the rain trying to, you're trying to encourage a player to give it his all when he was going to be on the roster, regardless of what people want to say. I know that I put it on. I know I said to Cody and Alex on 96.5 The Fan, look, there was a chance before the preseason that if certain things didn't go a certain way, Felix was not going to be on the roster. But entering Seattle, he was on the roster. They, as Steve Spagnuolo said today, had a plan for Felix. So if you have a plan for Felix, why is he on the field in the fourth quarter? And kids, this is a cruel world. This is a gut-wrenching business. They do not care. And partly that is their problem. It's also Felix's problem. There are two sides to all of this. He put himself in that predicament. And on a play where he has to change directions and show fluidity and chase down an athletic quarterback, which I don't know if you guys know this, they're cyborgs at this point, unless you're the Cleveland Browns or the Indianapolis Colts, who still say, give me that old traditional drop back. He's a statue. Give it to me. Now, Daniel Jones does have some athleticism, but you know where I'm going.
He does know how to read hot on a slide protection. I mean, that was.
He will.
He's written that to tremendous success.
He will walk into the stadium, and you know it. He will walk out of the stadium. He will not be sent to a hospital. Now, look, he has to change directions. He has to chase down an athletic quarterback. And I should have put this on Twitter yesterday because I know that there was some pushback. But look, this is what the team says. So I'm not trying to go over the top here, but it's a significant injury. And if you rewatch the replay, and I wrote this on ESPN.com, he knows this ain't no regular hamstring pull. It's a significant one. Still going to find details if it's going to require surgery or if it's just going to require a lot longer of a sort of recovery process than the normal hamstring would. So we're going to get to defensive line depth after this, but just know, ladies and gentlemen, they did this to themselves. They asked Felix Anudike-Uzomah to be out there in a meaningless preseason game in the fourth quarter where you told the entire world the hierarchy of where he stood in your roster, and then he had a season-ending injury. And I don't know if you know this, they will be scouring the waiver wire. They will be trying to make some trade. Well, didn't they already do that, Josh? His name was Joshua Uche, and he plays for the Philadelphia Eagles. So they have quietly tried to revamp the defensive line to a lesser degree than the offensive line. Offensive line gets more of the spotlight for obvious reasons, but they've essentially tried to do the same thing. Well, they put themselves in a predicament Friday, I should say, because they do not have a player that they needed to see make legitimate strides in year 3, and now he doesn't get that opportunity. And it's I don't know if this is, it's so weird. It's I don't know if this is the end or if this is a footnote. I don't know if there's a 5th-year option involved. One would argue that there can't be a 5th-year option. And they're going to have to make the decision while he's recovering or coming back from a significant season-ending injury. So, kids, for all intents and purposes, until proven otherwise, the 2023 first-round draft pick is gone. Poof. That asset no longer has – not only does it depreciate in value over time, it has no value at this point because you chose to put him out there in the fourth quarter of a preseason game when he was on the team. And Steve Spagnuolo said that today. He was on the team. And now it leads to an even larger issue that I think we now have figured out that it's not running back, it's not receiver, it's not even punter, Tucker. Perhaps the biggest concern outside the offensive line is now the defensive line.
Seth, any FAU thoughts?
I mean, I would just say, and I don't mean this, I mean, it's my job to talk about it. I hope FAU recovers. Hope he goes on to play way better than he ever has in Kansas City. I don't think FAU going down to injury really affects the defensive line's floor or ceiling. It's just not.
If he played better than he did last year, it would have raised the group overall because he would have had perhaps more of an opportunity to be on the field compared to the previous 2 years.
Sure. But I mean, you know, if this Mike had wheels, it would be a bike. I mean, like, I don't know. It's just, I hope he does. But I would just say in terms of what we know is that his preseason tape so far has looked pretty much like the same as it did the last couple of years. And this, I'm not trying to be insensitive. Him being placed on injured reserve is a real bummer for him as a player, for him as a person. It's going to be a long recovery. That stinks. I think the defensive line issues, particularly on the interior, were already there. I mean, it was always going to be a primary.
And weren't they put in the spotlight on Friday night?
Yeah. And it's, well, and also I would just note, Kubiak's system has always given Spags fits in regular season games. Anytime either of the Kubiaks, right? Whether it's Gary or his son, the Kubiak system and like people that kind of take some stuff from it. Like LaFleur comes from obviously a slightly different coaching tree, but like he does a lot of some of the similar stuff with a lot of those boots and some of those similar looking play action stuff. That gives Spags problems, and it has consistently. I would just say, in terms of the defensive line, they're in the same place that they were in that George Karlaftis is your starter. Mike Dana or Charles Omenihu is your other starter. Probably
it seems like Dana, by the way. We can shift this into D-line depth. It seems like Dana is the second guy up, and that's another thing I just wanted to mention. Charles Omenihu has been out there a lot in the preseason.
That has been interesting to me to see.
30 snaps against the Seahawks. He basically tagged out with Malik Herring. Yeah,
and that's definitely an interesting thing to see, the difference in how things are done. I'll be curious what it looks like when the season gets started. My assumption is it was going to be like previous years where those three are the trio. Anytime Omenihu has not been suspended or he's been healthy, those three have been getting like the vast majority of the snaps. Now, if Spags wants to be able to rotate Omenihu or Dana inside, or Dana, sorry, where they're both more comfortable, then you want another guy. I mean, it's just tough. Ashton Gelati hasn't shown a ton in preseason. I went through some of his snaps, and he is getting some push with power, but it's a little slower than you want with that pure power pass rush in terms of crushing the pocket. He arrives, but it's a second later. I think that was always going to be a little problematic. I'm much more worried about the interior. Let's assume Jerry Tillery is exactly what he was last year. It's somewhat livable. You're putting a lot on Pennell, but basically Chris Jones has to be an absolute superstar this year, playing probably 70% of the snaps again, or you're going to have some genuine problems. And that's the road they've decided to go down. We'll see. They're basically relying on two rookies to really turn around to improve the defensive line in year one, and that's tough.
A couple of things on this that I wanted to. I think I'm with you on the interior here, and this is interesting just because we talked about this in April, right? Like the interior defensive line was always going to be something that was getting retooled, and they let Derek Nottie walk. I don't think Derek Nottie is saving this group necessarily.
Right.
Chris Jones last year played 83% of the defensive snaps in the regular season.
He cannot
that
do
was
that
a
again.
career high for him.
Cannot do that again. And remember, too, we talked about it in April, Josh, because Chiefs fans might gain a greater appreciation for Tershawn Wharton post him being in a Chiefs uniform than whenever he was with the team the last, 3-4 years. So, yeah, that was an issue. And, of course, part of this is, and I think the Chiefs have finally acknowledged this, so that tells you that they're preparing him, I believe, for Brazil. But Omar Norman-Lott having his ankle injury.
That's the other thing.
And still being pushed out there when he's not 100% healthy. I know he needs the experience, but you're walking a tightrope there as well. They have backed him off. He has not practiced this week. I assume to get that ankle a little bit more stronger in preparation for him being available in a rotational standpoint, opening night against the Chargers.
And yesterday, Andy Reid, when he was doing the injury rundown, he said that he re-hurt it. I don't know if that's an official medical term or not, but Andy Reid saying he re-injured this ankle that has dogged him all throughout camp. He's playing heavier. He's playing more one tech. Just to run through the snap counts in Seattle here. So Chris Jones didn't play. Mike Pennell was out there for 6 snaps. We know what Mike Pennell is. Stay fresh, sir, and we'll see you in Brazil. Jerry Tillery was out there for quite a bit. 27 snaps for him. Omar Norman-Lott, 12 in and out here and there, and then obviously the injury wipes him out the rest of the way. Marlon Tuipulotu played 39 snaps, and there was a time earlier in the year when it was like, well, he might just have to be Derek Nottie because otherwise, and maybe he can, right? I'm still kind of open to that. He's also one of the last defensive linemen on the roster cut, just either side of the bubble there. Not only are you asking a ton from Chris Jones, you say, well, he can't play 80% of the snaps again. You're asking for a ton from Mike Pennell next to him. And I don't know if either of you guys have any insight or if we've spent much time on the Omar Norman-Lott of it all. But this idea that, it sounds like he didn't splash very much in training camp while dealing with this ankle injury from very early on. I don't know if he's going to be right by Brazil. If this was an actual re-injury on Friday, you've got to be big picture concerned about him being ready for week 1. And even if he was spry and healthy as all could be, you're asking for a ton from you're asking for probably more snaps from Omar Norman-Lott in week 1 than he got at Tennessee last year on average, just in terms of he was being used in those short rotational spurts. And now we're thinking, man, the Chiefs really need somebody to pick up 40 snaps. Maybe it's a couple guys, but there are snaps to be had on the interior. It's looking kind of thin.
Okay.
And Tillery and Norman-Lott are not one techs naturally.
Right. You would be mixing and matching as it stands right now. Seth, you're the director of pro personnel right now. I need you to look on the internet and find us the best defensive lineman the Chiefs can sign off the street right now.
I'm going to save Seth for having to Google that and answer a question that I know he won't be able to answer until maybe you give him the entire break and you can scout it. Let me ask you this, Nate. I saw Colin Saunders get traded, and I went, oh, that's interesting. I wonder if there was any talk of a reunion there. Certainly familiarity in the system. I don't know if it just didn't go very well last year for him in New Orleans. I can't pretend I was watching him very closely.
He was very adequate.
Very adequate would help this rotation.
Correct. And again, that was much of the Saints season in generalities. True. Was just like they were adequate. They were okay. They were a professional football team. They didn't embarrass themselves. Obviously, we all remember what Colin Saunders did on Monday night against the Chiefs, where he had the tip drill interception return. I mean, obviously he's incredibly athletic, but he needs Chris Jones, just like many defensive tackles need Chris Jones to show off that athleticism. That's why he had success. That's why Tershawn Wharton had success. Obviously, maybe Omar Norman-Lott in the future will have similar success if he plays next to Chris Jones long enough. I don't get the sense that because they played each other, which again I don't know the full details of the show, but because I think they didn't they play each other and they were just like, hey man, just stay here. So that might have been a more expedited trade than you would do in terms of like, hey, put out the call, get up, round up everybody's, here's who we can see. I think most I'm not spilling the tea too much, but I think most teams have a board of like, all right, these are the guys that are somewhat available, or hey, if we got a call we'd be interested in, or hey, if we didn't like the call, we would maybe pivot the conversation to this player. I don't know how much that went on because it basically happened within an hour of him being
Post-game
on
trades
the
are
field.
wild. That's a crazy.
Yeah, of him being on the field. So I don't know. Those are just two teams making an arrangement. But yeah, I mean, I think the reason why I asked Seth to do that is I know the break's coming and we do not want to embarrass him. But also, the last point I would make to you, Seth, as you scour to find me someone who is not suspended.
I have one
retired,
answer.
Not
I have
retired.
one answer.
Okay, well, this is great. Not retired. Actually healthy. That removes Christian Watt. How do you say his name? Christian
Wilkins. Okay, yeah.
Wilkins,
Because I don't.
yeah.
We don't
'Cause
really
he not
know
healthy.
his health or what
not healthy.
Well, neither most of these guys. I'd be interested in. I'd like to talk to Christian Wilkins whenever he's healthy. I'd love him to call.
Correct. So again, you gotta figure out those three things. Like, are you healthy? Are you not retired? You know, are you available?
We're down to Linval Joseph here now, who might be retired. I don't know. He's 37.
But the
Where's
other
Linval?
thing is, the last thing I'll say before I give you guys the ability to name a player or two is, okay, man, you got to get on a double-digit hour flight. Everything between Friday and that double-digit flight matters to Omar Norman Lott. Can you get that ankle stabilized, strengthened enough to get on a double-digit hour flight to Brazil, have a little practice, you know, and then be ready to play his first ever NFL game?
I just never got right in St. Joe. I don't know. Seth,
So,
do you have
well,
an answer?
I'm telling you,
Anderson?
I'm telling you the circumstances the Chiefs find themselves in today on August 19th.
I mean, the best answer for the Chiefs, and it's not a great answer, would be two options. They could call Linval Joseph and see if he's willing to do a one-year mercenary nose tackle thing like he's done multiple years. That's not an incredible option. He's not what he was 3 or 4 years ago, but he still can provide some run stuffing ability. That's something you can do. And then that would allow Chris Jones to come off the field a little more, even though they play very different positions, right? It would more give you redundancy, and it would allow you to maybe not have to play Chris Jones on some goal line snaps. Like, and the thing is his ability to penetrate and that kind of stuff. That's a big deal. But honest to God, you've got to you got to think of something. The only other option, and it's not an amazing one, it doesn't really help you in terms of giving Chris Jones any breathing room, is you look at Zadarius Smith, who's a guy that has repeatedly been available and they've never seemed to show interest in. So I'd be surprised if they did now. He's a guy who can rush from the edge a little bit. He wasn't bad last year. Wasn't great, but like it wasn't what he was at his peak. But I'd say he was better last year rushing from the edge than anyone not named Karlaftis and maybe occasionally a Menahu. So he can give you some snaps from the edge that are functional on pass rush downs. You know, he's at that veteran age where hey, you're only playing 25, 30 snaps. That would allow you to rotate Menahu and Dana inside. Those are really, for me, the only real options that might potentially be able to provide you an average level of play based on how they played last year. Wilkins, again, is the obvious one, but he's hurt. And so, honestly, those would be the only two options that I would see the Chiefs doing. But the option number 3, and we won't know this till after the third preseason game is done. See what interior defensive lineman who's some average-ish type dude that a team's just got some talent and might cut loose, and you trade a conditional 7 for him or something like that. That's probably the move, is my guess. But I think standing pat, based on what I know about how the Chiefs seem to operate, it seems a lot more likely that they are just going to trust the plan they have for Omar Norman Lott. I don't think, honestly, Nate, you mentioned stuff not being really that fair to FAU, like being on the field and stuff, and for me, it's kind of well, he's on the roster bubble, so I kind of get why he's on the field. But, in that same vein of what's fair and not fair to a player, honestly, I think drafting a guy who was successful in college based on solid explosion and unusual bend, had a little bit of power to him, and then having him throw on, 15 pounds, 20 pounds, whatever, and asking him to be more of a one tech, I don't think that's. I mean, they must have seen something on film that made them say, and he's got strong hands. He's got a pretty strong lower body for a dude his size. But like, I just don't understand why you would take a guy who was generally at his best trying to penetrate and turn him into Derek Nottie. Like that makes no sense to me. And
well, Steve Spagnuolo appreciates versatility, as we all know this. If you could offer some level of versatility along the interior of the defensive line, he would find that to be of value. The question then becomes, with the training staff, the strength and conditioning staff, how much can you balance and marry those two ideas where you can be the player you've been, throughout your college career, but also, maybe have a little bit more girth to, be somewhat versatile in the NFL. If you're going to try something like this, doing it early in a player's career is maybe easier than doing it in year 2, year 3. Again, that leads us down a different conversation, but a somewhat different situation when it comes to Kingsley Suamataia. Well, I remember asking him at training camp, and he point blank saying, I never played guard until I was in the NFL, like ever. And so, yes, you've given me a whole year to transition into that, but that's still asking something from a player that has not naturally been developed over multiple years. So if you're going to ask Omar Norman-Lott to, push him and test him a little bit and like see how his body handles, I guess you would want to do that training camp preseason, and then you can readjust and recalibrate from there. I think that's the easiest most logical explanation. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to work, but the player and the coaching staff and the, again, training staff, strength conditioning staff, nutrition staff, this is what they've attempted to do. And the question is, we have no idea what he will look like on September 5th.
Right. It's got some, there's plenty of time. I imagine we're not going to see Omar Norman-Lott in preseason game 3. It's just a matter of, if you're counting on that guy to give you 30 snaps on opening night, I don't think you can play him. My assumption, he re-hurt something, is like some kind of ankle sprain, something like that. Right. This is, I'm not a doctor, although I am a jurist doctor. But even I know you can't, it's just rest. You can't just get healthy continuing to play with a sprained ankle. Like, some people are freaks. Yeah. Pat Mahomes was able to keep playing on that sprained ankle, and it's like, oh, well, he got better gradually. He also
got round-the-clock treatment, kids. Right.
Well, and
some of what you guys have seen in the Kingdom, if you've watched, episodes further than just the first 2 that were put on television. But when I mean around the clock, 12-hour days.
And the practice for Omar Norman-Lott looks very, very different than it does for Patrick Mahomes. Practice is a very different experience for a quarterback than it is for a defensive lineman. So I am curious, the D-line depth issues. Here's the thing. I will say, I think it might be a little concerning earlier in the season. I'm not sure. Tillery's tape last year was fine. It wasn't good, but it wasn't like terrible. It was maybe a little subpar with some flashes up and down. They can get by with that, provided he can be that. Spags will do his thing. If the cornerback room, hopefully Christian Fulton's healthy, all that fun stuff, I don't think that's going to matter too much in terms of torpedoing the defense, because ultimately the scheme and the overall talent they have on the defense will get them into some good situations. And then Chris Jones will wreck a couple of third downs, and that's what you need. I think that's good enough to get by as guys develop. It's just been a mystifying process for me to an extent, but some of it at the end of the day, and honestly, the Chiefs have gotten away with this at times through his career. Some of it just doesn't matter when you have Chris Jones. Sometimes it just doesn't matter on the biggest downs. And that doesn't mean it's a good process, though.
Something I'm not going to let you get along with any longer is delaying a break that we should have taken 20 minutes ago.
Looking for tickets for your next event? Tickets for Less is your #1 source. Save big on every purchase when you use promo code KCSN at ticketsforless.com.
Success in real estate takes more than vision. It takes the right financial partner. When someone takes something rundown and turns it into something great, that's called a comeback story, like Brain Group. They take distressed properties here in KC, completely rework them, and then turn them into valuable real estate. But that kind of work needs the right bank behind it. Enter Emprise Bank. They're not about cookie-cutter loans. They saw Brain Group's vision, backed them, and now they're making big moves in Kansas City real estate. Talk about your partner in possible. Emprise doesn't do one-size-fits-all financing. They invest in potential and back growth. Visit emprisebank.com/KC to learn more. Emprise Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Folks, nothing beats hanging out with the boys on a hot summer day and watching some baseball. And the simplest way that you all can get in on the action is to download the Pick 6 app from DraftKings. It is crazy simple. Just pick more or less on the stats for 2 or more of your favorite players, and boom, you're in the mix for big cash prizes. And the best part is, Pick 6 is available right here in Missouri. Don't miss out on the fun. Don't settle for a smaller payout. Switch to Pick 6, and right now, new customers can get $25 in bonus picks with their first deposit of $5. Here's what you got to do. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and then use code KCSN. That's code KCSN for new customers to get $25 in bonus picks with their first deposit of $5. Better payouts, bigger wins, only with Pick 6 from DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Void where prohibited. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit. Bonus picks expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
All right, let's go to the offensive side of the ball. And let's go ahead and go back to the O-line, Seth. We've asked you this a couple times before. Josh Simmons, Kingsley Suamataia. Your thoughts? You can read it and see the charting and all of that. Another small sample size in the Chief in the North newsletter. But the takeaways were a little bit different from week 2. Similar for Josh Simmons, a little bit worse for Kingsley, it seems.
Yes. With Kingsley, I was able to kind of write about the fact that one snap didn't really define his day. Even though there was another pass protection snap that was somewhat concerning. Here's the problem. For one thing, they're still doing this really limited snaps thing. And I'm feeling frustrated.
Say it with your chest.
Well, there's just no, you've got a rookie left tackle who is getting into game shape and all that fun stuff. He has to see different looks. Offensive line is like any other position. The more you see, the better off you are. Mitch Schwartz and Jeff Schwartz had some great tweets today talking about like advice they'd give young linemen. And I think I saw Kyle Long tweet about this too, in terms of Josh Simmons. Their advice was kind of like, hey, slow down a little, young fella. You are athletic. You will get there. Just take a second. Because you've got all the time in the world. We've talked about this before with like Juwan Taylor with that trying to get that crazy jump on the snap. It's like, dude, you're really athletic. You don't need to try to get that advantage. You've got this. Simmons, the more he sees, the more he'll see with every rep. He'll see just how quickly he needs to get to that corner against various types of pass rushes. Kingsley Suamataia just needs more reps at guard, more to try to figure out how to find a balance of not lunging and not getting too much weight under himself, but how to sink his hips and just hold up against power and not just get treated like a weeble. Because that's, honest to God, what I was thinking about a couple times watching him Friday night when I was charting the snaps is weebles wobble, but they don't fall down. Well, occasionally he does fall down, but that's usually with a trip or something. But for me, it's much more how top heavy he looks at times in terms of not being able to handle certain types of the difference between him and Simmons is Simmons seems to have the upper body power to recover in some of those things, and Suamataia just doesn't seem to. Here's the problem, though. In the run game, he generates movement, quite a bit of it, and he generates some torque with his upper body, too. Here's the way that I would say it best, because I want to make sure, I wrote about, the Chiefs might have a problem. And there's the big thing. You can't, you are only charting a couple of, you're only charting a couple of drives. It's like a grand total right now of 12 pass block reps that Suamataia has played. That's not very many reps. Okay. And that's to me, it's not enough to work on certain issues. And I wrote about this last week, to talk to people about, because I've seen a lot of people like, oh, this is going to be just like the left tackle position last year. It's going to be like, I see Nate talk. It'll be like the 2023 wide receiver hands. It's going to torpedo the offense. One thing that we've seen is, you can scheme around a weak spot at left guard if the tackle position is strong. You can slide. You can just have Creed helping him the majority of the time. And then that just means you got to leave your left tackle on an island. The Chiefs haven't really trusted their left tackle on an island as much the last couple of years, outside of 2 games where they tried to do it with Suamataia, which was a terrible idea. So there's things you can do. It's not going to torpedo the offense. It might at times mess with consistency. Here's the thing. 12 pass pro snaps is not enough for him. It's not enough for me as a quote unquote analyst or whatever. But I will say in 12 pass pro reps, he's lost 3 of them. And you might look at that and say, well, that's not, that's just 3 reps. That's 25% of your pass pro reps. And on multiple other ones, you're getting help, or the ball is out fast. And of those 3 losses, and I wrote about this with Simmons. Simmons had his first pass block loss charted snap by me. The guy still didn't get by him for 2.5 seconds. Not all losses are created equal.
Correct.
And of Suamataia's losses that I've charted, of the 3 of them, 2 of them were of the immediate and dire variety. It is it's such an immediate problem that it's a play wrecker. And there's losses that allow your quarterback to still go through at least his first read, maybe his second read. And then there's losses that torpedo the play. And Suamataia had a few of those. And so I actually, my plan for either tonight or tomorrow is to chart Jalen Moore's right tackle snaps and just kind of see what it looks like. Because at the end of the day, if Suamataia is going to struggle with that level of consistency and with that level of direness, for lack of a better word, that'll be a problem. It won't be a problem like left tackle last year, just by the nature of the positions. There's a reason left tackles get paid what they do. Left guards get paid what they do. But it'll still be a problem. And now one thing you could do, if you're talking 22 personnel, maybe running the ball a little bit more with Pacheco, Hunt, Brashard Smith, whatever. Man, Suamataia and Simmons running the ball? Okay. Now, and honestly, it should have looked better than it did, because a lot of those were with Carson Steele carrying the ball, and he can't get from point A to point B fast enough. That 0.1 second, it matters so much in terms of whether you gain 2 yards, 4 yards, or 8 yards. Some of those carries with Isaiah Pacheco, that's like an 8-yard carry. So I like that. There's something to build on there, and it also still shows you that the traits are there. It's not like Suamataia doesn't have power. I watched him run over a couple guys in the run game. It's just his feet and his hands just keep getting in his way. And so there's a lot there. For me, one of the solutions, if I'm Andy, I'm playing the starting offensive line the entire first half. And then, you do your halftime routine like he usually has. We'll see if he does it this year. You let him play a drive afterward, and then you make a call. If Suamataia remains, where he's losing 20% of his pass pro snaps, I just don't know if that's something you try to work through in the season when you've got a perfectly competent offensive lineman in Jalen Moore who seems comfortable moving around the line.
A perfectly competent offensive lineman, but you can't say he's a perfectly competent guard, because we've seen 12 fewer snaps of him at guard in pass pro than we have from Kingsley this year.
Absolutely.
So I wanted to ask Nate a couple specific questions on this, because I do think the next act is fascinating. One being that, as Seth laid out here, Kingsley has been treated in the preseason like one of the 5 starters. That's the
Yes.
exclusive treatment he's gotten. If all you saw were the
Yes.
snap counts, you'd say, I know exactly who the starters are. Obviously, Juwan Taylor didn't play in Seattle on the turf.
Mhm.
We have not seen Jalen Moore at guard. We've only seen him at right tackle.
Right.
And I think some people are kind of having the backup quarterback thing where we're looking at Mike Caliendo. And I don't know that we have enough we've only really seen him playing in unideal circumstances, either next to Joe
Correct.
Thuney or in this case, next to whoever's at left tackle behind Simmons in the preseason. So is there even, I kind of like Seth's logic of you want to have the starters play till halftime and do the halftime thing, go back out for one drive like they've done before. But this is the third preseason game. You're 2 weeks away from having to play a game that matters in Brazil.
Yep.
The Chiefs have been treating Kingsley like the starter at left guard the whole way through. You saw a few Jalen Moore left guard snaps. What is the status of that position and how they view Kingsley?
So, as of right now, ladies and gentlemen, you have, and this is just right now on August 19th, you still have Kingsley, and then you have Mike Caliendo. And Jalen Moore is still the quote-unquote backup right tackle / swing tackle in the event of an injury to Josh Simmons or Juwan Taylor. Now, Wanya Morris is still in the mix if you want to have a fourth tackle. We have not talked about him much in training camp or the preseason. That is, some could argue, noticeable.
He was a hypothetical guard candidate once upon a time.
Correct. Now, post Friday, and we can argue how Friday should go on Thursday's episode, and you could say, hey, Nate, let's do what Seth wants. Let's get the first team offensive line through the first half. Obviously, much of that will be with Gardner Minshew. You still need even those repetitions and those snaps, because what happens if Patrick Mahomes has to be, given a week or two in the regular season? Okay, fine. Well, do you want to see Jalen Moore at left guard? I would argue yes, even if it's against, I don't know, the Bears' third string at that point. I don't care. We've already known what he can do at right tackle. You might want to give those snaps to Wanya Morris, with the idea that Essapol can be at left tackle theoretically. What'll be fascinating is there's a week before the real regular season starts, after cutdown day.
Right.
Where, hey, you can still experiment, tinker, do what you got to do. And then there's the actual game week. I have to imagine Andy Heck and Andy Reid are smart enough to know that they should be tinkering and experimenting as much as they can in the first week before week one. What they do in week one normally is for chemistry purposes, for continuity purposes. Hey, we're going to have you 5 guys do every rep with the quarterback to get everything as solid as we possibly can before opening night. As of right now, I would anticipate that to occur. So we're basically talking a week and a half starting today. And again, I don't think much has changed, which is why I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, on August 19th, still Kingsley Suamataia, still Mike Caliendo. Last thing I'll say, Josh, my father, Michael Taylor, who's been, around the show for a while. Obviously, I sort of express his thoughts to you, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of him, considering he's watched every single Chiefs game since the team moved from Dallas to Kansas City. This was his text to me about Kingsley Suamataia on Saturday night. And I quote, "I've never seen someone that big without a low center of gravity. He needs a lot more reps." End quote.
Your dad knows ball. I mean, that really is it, right? That ability to keep resetting your feet, and he ends up knocked off balance just far more easily. You can see the reps where he starts to lose, and you look at the difference between Simmons, one rep that we talked a lot about from week one, where he ended up with a hand kind of right under his chin, and he talked about a little afterwards. You can see him sink his hips and reset his feet. and hold up. And look, he's got a lot of natural talent, but I mean, some of that stuff is just you either do it or you don't. And at a certain point, you are who you are. And if who you are is someone who's ends up kind of flying around a little bit, there's an argument to be made that those really bad snaps can be, in theory, a little more damaging at guard if your body's flying backward.
Real quick here, appreciate Jake Palmer for the super chats. Trading for Roy Robertson Harris or Arnold Ebiketie gives KC proven depth and upside. And then should they trade Joshua Williams for Kevin Zeitler, veteran left guard, to give some steady pass pro there? We've obviously talked about the defensive thing, and I think we're kind of on board for some exploration there. Do you think there's any interest in making a move like that on the offensive side? It would be a pretty big pivot from how training camp and the preseason went, but I'm not ruling it out.
I would be absolutely shocked if they went that route, considering the route they've gone so far.
But at least they have a potential asset in Joshua Williams that is viable enough to give you
right now might be
something.
this team's number 3 healthy corner. Just in the, I mean, we're talking.
I
know Joshua Williams.
That's the
has fallen
gamble
out of
you're
favor
making, boys
times,
and girls.
But man, like there's just a lot of injuries piling up in that secondary.
That's the gamble you're making because Noah Williams is on the roster. I cannot say that definitively about Joshua Williams. Now look, I think we're going to get Christian Fulton in uniform in Arrowhead Stadium on Friday. I think that's where this is trending. Jalen Watson should be back on the field for the preseason finale along with Trent McDuffie. So you might get a little glimpse of that starting trio. But yeah, they should feature Joshua Williams quite a bit in the preseason finale just to see if the interest surrounding him in terms of the trade market is sustainable to where you could make such a move. But it is
pure man covered books.
Yeah, but at least
be like, Josh, we are lining you up and you are playing press man and you're just beating the daylights out of that corner, and let some man heavy schemer take a look and say,
yep.
Yeah, man.
Hey,
what is he, like,
Flores.
6'2", 210? I mean, he's huge.
Hey, Flores. He can blitz too. He can blitz. He got a little that blitz in him. Mm-hmm. So I'm just saying, Brian Flores, just give us a call.
We'll do a little more of our looking ahead to Friday's game on Thursday. We're just in full Friday Night Lights territory until further notice. Seth, I'm gonna go ahead and snooze but tease the Tyquan Thornton piece that's up in the Chief in the North newsletter right now. I imagine the three of us are not going to come up with 5 brand new fresh topics in the next 2 days, so I think we'll have time to get to Tyquan Thornton on Thursday's show. So if you want to get the spoilers, you can go read that now. Otherwise, we'll talk about Thornton on Thursday. And you might be going, Josh, are you really wrapping up the show at the 58-minute mark? Well, Nate said earlier that he needed an absolute 5-minute ISO ball for a tennis thing. So, Nate, it's all yours, my friend.
All right, 3 minutes. All right, and start me now, Tucker. Look, this is how you know it's football season, guys. Today was the start of Fan Week at the U.S. Open. Of course, ESPN, my employer, broadcast the U.S. Open. You should come down. Go to Queens. Get on the 7 train. Hit some balls. See the kids. Now I'm a tightest to football, okay? I love tennis, okay? It's the U.S. Open. It's our home tournament, okay? I'm not talking about any of these Americans, okay? So look, when I was a kid, CBS would say, hey, look, guys, we're going to give you football on week 1, but just know you're going to watch Andre Agassi before we go to, I don't know, Giants-Cardinals to start the NFL season, because tennis crazily was like, we don't care. Our biggest tennis match of the year in this country will be on the same day as week 1. So at least they don't do that anymore. Right? The U.S. Open did something very fun this year. They've created a mixed doubles shenanigans. It's not a tournament. It's not a Grand Slam event. It's a sideshow for Fan Week. God bless them. Now, obviously, all the big names are out there, and kids. Not only did we find him back in the spring of 2022, that being, of course, Carlos Alcaraz, who went on to win the U.S. Open. I sent Holly Taylor, my wife, who is related to me by marriage, a tweet of a photo that I'm going to present to the audience, okay? I care so much about these kids. The only reason why this event existed, ladies and gentlemen, is so that we could have men and women from the ATP Tour and the WTA Tour play tennis together in a little competitive match, right? You know, little mixed doubles. You know, it happens at your local club. Hey, it can happen at the U.S. Open. Look at this photo. Look at this photo. Guys, it could happen. It could happen, guys. Josh, do you know who that is?
Now, Nate, I was going to jump in and explain this for the audio listeners, but I would have to know who these two people were to be able to do that helpfully.
The young man is the best, most entertaining tennis player in the world on the men's side. That's Carlos Alcaraz. And the lady who I am tickled about is Emma Raducanu, also of U.S. Open fame. She somehow won the tournament without dropping a set through qualifying, right? She's from Great Britain. He's from Spain. This has to happen. These kids, look at them. Now, I can give you quite the analysis that Carlos Alcaraz, of course, courted Miss Raducanu to be his mixed doubles partner. They, of course, lost today because look at this photo. It's not about the tennis anymore, guys. What I texted Holly today was the way I care about these two people is how y'all care about Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. They look so happy. Look at this. All right? Don't look at my family calendar. All right? Don't just get it out.
I saw that. I saw it and realized it wasn't like incredibly sensitive, and then I just we were gonna let it go. But I didn't show your address or anything. So.
Look at those crazy kids. All right, Carlos.
Now, Seth, what Nate could have done there is use something called "Do Not Disturb," a feature on I think all phones now.
Yep, and she's calling.
Nate, you're getting a call. I'm not sure who from, but you're getting a call, Nate. I see you're getting
from. It's of course.
Oh, that's from Seth. It was a Chiefs writer, Seth Keysor. You have him in your phone as Seth Keysor, occupation Chiefs writer.
Want?
That could have been a friendship ruiner moment right there. Can you
just
imagine?
Displayed your 10 digits.
that jackass from Minnesota.
Hey, if
Travis
Travis
Kelce,
Kelce,
I'm listed on my phone, but
if Travis Kelce can shoot his shot with Taylor Swift through a quote unquote friendship bracelet, you two kids, hey, be my doubles partner at the U.S. Open. Come on, wasn't
Don't
this
show
fun?
my phone number, Seth.
oh,
Don't you want to go outside? Don't you want to go to dinner?
That could have been a friendship ender. This jackass
Come on, we
in
could
the
be-
show, Tucker. I gotta give this man a talking to. Both of them.
Look, I talked to Andre Agassi. He got Steffi Graf. Be my Steffi Graf in
It's been
Raducanu.
4.5 minutes.
Sorry.